Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero. Thanks for listening to The Tour Coach. These are the players, coaches, experts, stories, and insights from my work on the PGA Tour at my retreats or my downtown teaching center in Mobile, Alabama. My goal is to shed light and share insights from the people who I've gotten to know and meet working on the PGA Tour and teach it through my career. And I hope this helps all of us play, coach, and teach better golf. If you like what you hear, please give us a good review and take a look at our new Dew Sweepers YouTube channel or the Dew Sweeper on Instagram, where I've taken some time to share videos of help from my teachings, travels, and journeys. Sitting down with me here on the Tour Coach is someone that I've had the opportunity to meet through the years, and one of the things I like doing here on the Tour Coach is just bringing on folks that I have found to be just brilliant teachers, brilliant people in the world of golf who's made an influence on me. And one of them is, I think he's one of the great teachers in the game. I love the stuff he puts out. He's old school, but he still does all the science stuff. Always enjoy my time to sit and hang out with him. Golf Magazine Top 100 teacher, Ted Sheftic. Ted, what's up, my man?
Well, just sitting here watching it snow and cold, and it's just one of those days where you're not going to do much unless you have an indoor facility like I have. Then you can do a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, and I don't mean this to make you sound old, but you've been doing this a long time. Been teaching players at all levels. I love watching the stuff that you do with juniors up there. You know, that's a big passion of mine. But what I kind of want to pick your brain on today is, you know, you've been doing it a long time. How have you seen instruction change over the years? And what are some of the constants, though, that you've kept along the whole time? You know, because I think that the great teachers, I think we evolve a little, or you guys evolve, but I think that a lot of the stuff you teach just stays the same. And I'd like your comments on that and kind of how you perceived your evolution as a teacher over the years.
Well, some of the stuff that you see right now on YouTube and a lot of the teachers that I have kind of watched through, like you watch on Facebook and so forth, I think they get too complicated with the swing. They make things complicated. I like to keep things really simple, and I've never ever, as long as I've been teaching golf since the 1960s. So I've been teaching golf for 50-some years, and I still see the same fundamentals of Hogan and Sam Snead and Gene Sarazen and all the top players then and the players today. You know, they all have a good pivot. They use the lower body excellent. They turn back through the ball good. Back then, you seen maybe a bigger turn, a little bit more hip turn, a little more shoulder turn, you know, and the foot came off the ground a little bit more. And in today's modern swing, you see the foot staying the ground more, and you see less turn going back. But in reality, if you have a young player that can have the flexibility to have a less turn, that's okay. But you get someone who's a senior golfer, mid-30s, 40s, they have to get that foot off the ground. They have to turn more. Arms have to go back, maybe a little bit more higher, more extension back. But basically, I don't see a lot of difference in the great swings of yesterday and the great swings today. I just feel that teaching has gotten better. I think there are more teachers out there like myself who studied the game for all those years. I've studied Hogan. If you go into my learning center, you'll see pictures of Hogan everywhere. All I have is pictures of Hogan, you know, and I can point to a finger and I say, look at the grip of his left hand. Okay, look how he's putting left hand on the golf club. He's got one chapter on the grip. So the fundamentals of grip, stance, posture, you know, takeaway. So one of my best backswing is take it back to stage 2 so the shaft stays outside, the club head stays outside the hands. Thumbs work up in the backswing, left arm works in, and you have a perfect plane. I don't think it's any more simpler than that, you know.
No, I agree. And I think as I look at golf instruction, it seems to me, and you look at the greats, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. And in fact, like to me, with some of the science and stuff that's out there, I do a lot with Swing Catalyst, and you know, Dr. Lynn I've done a bunch with him, but like to me, it's almost the more stuff they come up with, the more we go back to the Hogans and the Sneeds, right? Like there's just more hip turn. I remember when I started 20 years ago or so with Hank Johnson was my mentor, and back then, there was a little bit less hip turn and a little bit quieter lower body. If anything, the science and stuff has kind of taken us maybe back even a little more old school, if you will, to those pictures and stuff that you keep in your hitting bag.
Absolutely. I still feel that when I looked at Jack Nicklaus, his foot came off the ground. Arnold Palmer's foot came off the ground. They had a great hip turn. They got a great shoulder turn. And but I do believe that on the takeaway, I like to see a lower body stay relatively quiet. I like to see just a slight turn to the right with the hips. As the arms move outside the pocket, the left knee starts to come in, the hip turns back, arms go up. And I tell my students, all you need when you get outside the pocket, just let your arms go up. If you continue to turn the shoulders back, you're going to end up with a reverse weight shift. You're going to overturn your shoulders. Your head's going to go forward. But if you can get back outside that pocket and let your arms go up, extend up and to the right a little bit, and just kind of maintain that, what I call hold the load in that right leg a little bit longer, it's now you're in position to make a powerful move with the lower body. And I teach that on the backswing all the time.
Of the young guys out there, the tour players out there, what swings do you look at, because you've been doing this so long and you have so much knowledge of some of the great players? What are your favorite golf swings out there today and why?
Well, I like Colin Molinari. I think he's terrific. I think his coach has done a great job. I think that's a swing you can emulate. I still love McIlroy because McIlroy makes such a great turn going back, but doesn't overturn, gets his hands in a high position. And I still think he's one of the great golf swings of the last 20 years. When I study McIlroy in the modern age, and so those are two of my favorite swings.
No, I agree, and I love the way Morikawa swings now. And I know people argue about playing and stuff, but man, that thing just paints it. And he's such a wonderful iron player.
He there's not a lot of motion. He makes a great turn away from the ball. There's not a lot of head movement. There's no swing to the right. I'm not into anything swing. I don't like to see the right hip move toward the target in the back lane. I want to see the right hip loaded in the back leg and trying to maintain the position until you get close to the top, and then let the lower body go. But I see too much swaying on the right. I see too much hip moving to the left too early. I'm a really big believer of. I remember when I went out to see Ben Doyle, and back in '87. 88, I went out there and watched him teach. I sat in the chair. I heard Ben Doyle say a lot, sit and tilt. Take this off, feel like you're sitting down and tilting back to the right. And if you do that, you're actually moving your left hip correctly to the left. You're not swaying. You're not oversiding your left hip to the left. You're getting your body in position where you can release the club head. Your head's not falling back. Your hips aren't going too far forward. It's still one of my favorite sayings is sit and tilt, and what I'll do is put a soccer ball between their legs, soft soccer ball. And when I get to the top of the backswing, I say, let's separate the soccer ball to the left, stay steady, and then once that soccer ball leaves, let that right side go through the ball. And that always allows my players to not overshift to the left or overslide to the left. So it's a drill that I use all the time.
Yeah, I think one of the big things now is I see folks with all the stuff out there about turning the hips, and I love loading the right side, getting somebody to load and pivot, wind up correctly. But I see a lot of folks trying so hard with some of the stuff that's out there on social media to rotate that their right hip actually is moving towards the target at the top, and they're actually lean back. And then to me, from there, if they're athletic, they got no chance. It's really difficult to make a good move towards the ball from there. And I think one of the biggest things that I do, and I'd love your input on this, is I spend a lot of time with players. Once you get the grip in the face really good, Ted, I spend a lot of time on really trying to teach them to turn away from the ball correctly and load into that right side, obviously if they're a right-handed player correctly. I think that if you can get a player to do that, you really do set them up. It makes the downswing a whole lot easier if they're in a better damn position at the top. Yeah,
I agree. And I like to see one of the drills that I do is I have a 3/4 inch rod that you go from Lowe's, and I put a broken shaft on the end of it with a tennis ball on the end of it. And the back part, I just put some electrical tape on the rod. So when you put the rod down, it's outside your left hip. and the tennis ball is sitting on the ground, the club head. Mm-hmm. So I make them take it to the top of the backswing, load up, rotate as strong as you can to the left, and if that thing hits you on the left side of your ribs, you're not doing it right. You got to get on top. It makes you stay on top of the ball and rotate to the left where your hands move left and low. And, boy, I tell you what, you cannot believe how you can take a person that's leaning to the right, way to the right, all of a sudden now they're on top of the ball. So it's still one of my favorite training aids that my son Mark Sheftic actually developed that I've copied, and I use that all the time,
That pressure board that Mark developed, and I use that, as you know, I use that all the time. And I think it's my favorite part of it is not just the backswing, but showing them how you shift into the left, and then how, like, I had Richie Wawrinski, a tour player, in not long ago, and how you got to shift to the left, but then you've got to leave the left side down while you turn through. So many folks they push the left side down, but then the pressure, it starts tilting back to the right, going through the ball. I think it's a fantastic training aid. I mean, it's just so damn simple, but man, it's easy to use.
It's one of our favorite training aids. Getting a person to learn to transfer the pressure from the back foot to the front ball of the foot to the left heel is really the most important move in golf, But you can't do that if you're moving toward the target on the backswing. You got to feel the load in your back leg, and then as you approach the top, then you put that pressure down. And the other thing I like about the board is it allows your weight to go into the ground more, so as you turn through the ball, your left side pushes up more. Yeah,
I love that. And I think it's just simple, but to me, it translates really well to athletic, like just how you throw a ball, right? Just how you'd wind up to throw a pitch or a football and how you'd unwind. And I think that, I don't know what your experience is, but I mean, I'm getting more and more juniors, Ted, than ever that are really good athletes that have played a lot of other sports, and they're picking golf, and golf is a little cooler now. And I think that stuff like that that's athletic relates even better to these types of juniors that we're getting in the game today.
You get a junior player that comes to me for a lesson. The parents bring them there, and you can kind of see that they're not very athletic. And I'll ask them, take that golf ball. Let me see it, throw it down the range. Or in my spin, throw it down into the screen. And when they don't make an athletic move, now I've got to train them to be athletic. So now, I have to now change ways. And I tell that parent, look, you go home and get a tennis ball and play pitch and catch with this kid. Learn how to wind up and throw the ball. I said, it's the same move in golf. So I'm a really believer that when I get a junior player like you and they're athletic, play a lot of baseball, man, you can get them pretty good pretty quick. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. I love what you said in the beginning about keeping it simple. But I think the more you can train people, my good friend Colby Touye, who I do a lot of work with, who's a big trainer on tour, works with JT and a bunch of those guys. And he's always saying, if you can teach them the movement pattern, the athletic movement pattern first, then it's easier to transfer it to the golf swing. And I mean, I think that's exactly what you're saying. Like if you teach them the athletic move, then it transfers way easier to making a golf swing versus just, if they don't have any athletic ability or you don't address it like that and you just start teaching them golf, put the club here, do this, do that. I think it's way harder for them to acquire the skill. I think if you teach them the movement pattern, like you said, teach them the athletic move, I think they've got a way. I think they pick it up faster is what I think.
Yeah, I agree. Tony, did you ever use use a horsewhip?
I know what one is, but I haven't been around that many horses.
Well, neither. But I had got this idea one time, and I bought a horsewhip from Amazon for like $7. So when I get a person to me that's a female golfer that's hitting the ball with a driver at 125, 135, and they're holding on the club, they cannot release the club head, I put the horsewhip in their hand, and I said, how loud a noise can you make? And boy, when they start accelerating a club through, and I show them the video, and you show them that the handle of the club now is pointing back to the ball instead of into their left shoulder, you can pick up, 25, 35, 40 yards. And they go from a driver hitting at 135, the next swing is 165. Mm-hmm. So I say, oh my goodness. And well, that's the first time you learned to release the club head. So it's one of those things where I kind of thought that would be pretty neat to do, and it's been fantastic. It's been a great little training aid for people who need to increase their speed.
Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero here, host of the Tour Coach podcast. Thanks to our great sponsors, Shrixon Golf and Bushnell Golf, we're working to help spread the word about the Tour Coach and get more people to download and get more people to listen to it. I have so many DMs every week from golfers, from teachers, just people that are passionate about the game of golf, that love our authentic, our raw approach. It's unproduced. It's just natural. It's from my travels, teaching and working on the PGA Tour, teaching at our retreats, just conversations with the very best in the world of golf. And we want more people to know about it. So Shrixon and Cleveland Golf and Bushnell and I have teamed up to give away some stuff. And here's what you have to do to win and help spread the word about the Tour Coach. All you have to do is go on to Apple iTunes and give a review of the Tour Coach, then screenshot it, and then post it on Instagram or Twitter and tag Shrixon and Bushnell and myself at the Dew Sweeper on Instagram or at Dew Sweeper Golf on Twitter. And what I'm going to do weekly is draw from those people that tag me on social media, as well as Bushnell and Shrixon. And I'm going to do drawings for Wingmans, Dew Sweeper books, new Shrixon golf balls and wedges. We're going to give away a ton of stuff each week over the next month. So spread the word about the Tour Coach, give a review, screenshot it, and post it on your social media channels and tag me at the Dew Sweeper and at Dew Sweeper Golf. And we're going to be spreading the word and spreading the love and helping people play better golf. I like the pressure board. I love the stuff that you come up with that's simple, that has an effect on, on all golfers. And one of the other things I've always respected and I've liked and followed about you is you teach golfers of all skill levels, right? And we did a thing the other night with Claude Harmon, and he talked about how he still likes to teach, 20 handicappers at the Floridian. And I think that's a mark of a great teacher, though, as a teacher. I think it's easy. I don't think it's easy teaching tour players, but it's way different than teaching juniors or club golfers and developing them to reach goals. And I still think that's real teaching, and that's that's how you find out who the people that are really good at what they do. People have been able to make it a long time teaching people of all skill levels.
Well, a person comes to you and he's a 22 handicapper hitting a big banana ball to the right. It's not hard to change the grip and to change the downswing a little bit, and you get a little bit of release through the golf ball and put an impact back there and tell him stick the toe in the pillow a little bit more. All of a sudden now he goes from hitting it out to the right to the left, and it takes 10 minutes to do that. And I think, man, now you've done a great job of that 22 handicapper. It's a quick fix, but you've taught him how to release the club head. So those are the things that I think we continue to do, because I don't teach just all top players. I have a lot of people who come to see me who are 18, 20, 24 handicappers. And when you can take somebody from a 30 handicapper to a 17 in 1 year, I think you've done a pretty good job.
You've done a dang good job, and that's as impressive as any teaching that you do. And, I still love it. I think some of the most rewarding teaching you do is taking somebody that shoots 90 all the time and getting them to where they can shoot 78 to 81. I mean, those people become such big proponents of the game, but the excitement you see when they break 80 the first time, Ted, and the texts you get and so forth is so rewarding to me. And I mean, obviously I spend a lot of time with tour players and competitive players, but it doesn't replace the fun that you have when you help somebody. And to me, if they buy in and they'll practice and do the stuff that folks like you tell them, they can make that change in a year. They can do that and they don't have to hit 8,000 balls a day to do that. But if they have a plan and you're giving them the right info, they can do that.
The key is they have to buy in. They have to trust and if they see the results on the range, why wouldn't you buy in?
Right.
If you leave there, keep slicing the ball, you're not going to buy in. But if you get that person drawing the ball, or a guy's hitting the ball left, and you get them to hit it down a little more down the middle with maybe a cut fade versus a duck hook, why wouldn't they buy in? They've got to buy in. And I tell them, if you don't go back and practice and at least swing in your yard, swing in your house, I'll build a training aid for you that you can take your house and swing in your house to give you the feel I want. And I said, that's what you have to do, And so if we can continue to make average players better, to me, that's more important than working with a tour player that's already a great player. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's a question for you. I was wondering, how long have you been teaching now, Ted?
Since 1966.
Whew, that's a while.
I'm 77 years old. I'll be 78 in about 3 weeks. This will be my last year in Florida. I've been 39 years teaching in Florida in my golf schools. This is our last year. we're going to call it quits. Myself, my son Mark, he got 2 kids, a golf learning center he built, which is really nice, indoors, like my place. So we're not going to be doing this anymore after this year. But teaching golf since 1966, and I still have the same passion now I had 30 years ago. I love teaching people to get better, you know.
But when you look back, if you've been teaching since 66, if you could share advice with Ted Sheftic starting out that many years ago, 55 years ago, what would you tell him?
I would say go to some of the teachers that are my age, and not the younger teachers, at my age, and study. Go watch them teach for a day. Watch them teach for 2 days. Go get books. Go get books. Homer Kelly, Homer Kelly's book. Go get some of the great books of all time and start reading some books. Percy Boomer's book, Ben Hogan's book. Study the golf swing of the players back then yesterday, and study the players today, and learn how to get those fundamentals correct. And I would tell them, remember this: the most important fundamentals in golf are, number 1, impact. You got to have impact. You can't have that shaft leaning backward. The shaft's got to be forward. It has to match the pocket. Number 2, the club's got to go back on a good path. It's got to come down on a good path. You can't be outside in. You can't be inside too much. You can't swing to the right too much. You can't swing to the left too much. So, and all that criteria is getting the body, the pivot, to work correctly. So when the pivot's working correctly, you get that shaft in a good plane, get a good stance, good posture, and that's it. I mean, it's not complicated. It's just don't let the hands go out on the takeaway. Don't let the club come in too much on the takeaway. Just try to keep your fundamentals as clean, as simple as possible, and study the old swings of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I think they'll become a better teacher.
That's great. I know that you never quit learning. I know that you, and I know in particular, I've talked with you at many a Golf Magazine Teaching Summit. We've talked about the stuff we've seen. What do you do to continue your learning now? Like, how do you push yourself to keep learning? And what are your sources of information for you at this stage in teaching?
I like going to like Pinehurst. We went to Pinehurst at the summit. I enjoyed that. And I'll take maybe 3 or 4 things which I like, and I might use it. And that's how you learn. You learn a little bit every time you go someplace to educate yourself with some of the great teachers, some of the speakers. I spent a lot of time. One of my closest friends is Dr. Rob Neal. Rob Neal, you know Rob. He's a biomechanic, one of the best in the world. I've been working with Rob now for 12, 14 years. He comes to my place every year for a week. We work with my top players. We do a golf school together. He told me I've helped educate him, and I told him he's helped educate me. So when you're around smart people like Dr. Neal and Mike Adams, they're one of my real close friends, you continue to learn. You pick their brains apart, and now people are picking my brains apart. Because I do things that are uniquely different than most pros.
What would you say? Give me a couple things. I think people need to know this. What would you say you do some things that are uniquely different than other teachers they find out there? Okay,
so here's a good example. If I get a person that's coming to me and he's over the top, the club is coming way outside in. So the way to change that is to change the pivot and the tap. So years ago, when I was at my first top 100 teachers retreat back in Arizona, I think this was 2004 or 5, and Martin Hall was at the head of the table. He was the moderator at the table, and he said, there were 16 guys there. He said, when it comes to your turn, tell me something that uniquely that you do that nobody knows about. So when it came to my turn, I said, Martin, I have a move that Hogan made, and I call it my double turn. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, let me stand up and show you. If a person is turning to the right and turning to the left quickly, and the shoulders are kicking out, the shaft's kicking out, then I tell them, turn to the right to go back, and when you start your downswing, turn more to the right to start down. So that second turn to the right will drop the shaft to the inside every time, and it's impossible to come over the top. So I put a shaft across your legs. I turn to the right to go back. I said, now, when you start your downswing, turn to the right to go down. Now, what happens is they don't turn to the right. They just don't come over the top. So that's been one of the things that I've done over the years since 1998, 1999. When I saw Hogan on all the videos that I have, I said, he's making a move I've never seen before. Because Hogan shifted to the right, and as soon as he started down, his hips went so to the left, but it went up to the right and then quickly turned to the left.
I'm stealing that tip you just gave.
I'm telling you, you remember Bob Kramer, who passed away a couple of years ago?
Uh-huh.
Well, he was one of our top teachers, and he always came out to watch me teach a lot. He would sit there in a chair for hours and watch me teach. And I said, Bob, I've never showed anybody this, but I'm going to show you because the next guy's coming for a lesson, I know is over the top because he told me he's really slicing the ball. So Bob's sitting here at the chair, and I said, now watch what I'm going to do. So I took this gentleman, and I showed him. I put the shaft across his legs, and it felt very awkward for him. He said, oh, my God, I can't hit a ball that way. I said, well, turn to the right, stop. Now turn to the right, start down. Well, what happened was after about 4 or 5 or 6 misses, he finally nailed one. And I put him on video with the camera in the back, and I said, how's your pass? He said, it's perfect. I said, well, the reason why, I said, you're really not doing what you think you're doing. You think you're turning to the right. What you're doing is making a correct shift with the shaft falling in. So I said, it's real versus feel. So Bob left there. He was all excited. He said, I got a lesson on Thursday. The guy is over the top. I can't get rid of it. So he calls me up, and the next day he says, guess what, Ted? The guy sent me half a case of champagne. He said he was so excited. It's the first time I've ever seen him hit a draw. I said, Bob, you should give me half of that.
You should. You should have gotten at least your share.
So Bob says I've used that ever since. Now he's passed away, but that's one of the great moves in golf. And I've cured so many people that it's kind of real versus feel. You're not going to do what you think you're doing. You're just going to make the correct move. When you make that second turn to the right, your hips are shifting, the shaft's falling back in, the right shoulder staying back, the right hip staying back, everything's staying back, and the shaft has to come from the inside. It's impossible to come over the top if you make that second turn to the right.
That's feel versus real.
That's feel versus real. That's probably one of the things I've done back in the late 90s, and I've refined it a lot. So when I get a person that I'm having a hard time getting him to correctly, without that saying, I say, okay, well, that's it. I'm going to my magic move. I call it Ted's magic move. And the magic move is 2 turns to the right.
The last question here. If somebody comes to you for any player really wanting to get better this year, from all your years of experience, what will you tell them if they really wanted to make a difference this year? You know, a lot of folks come and they're like, this year I want to get better, but they don't really commit and they don't really get better, and they look up at the end of 22, their exact same handicap they were at the beginning of it. What would you tell them they need to do this year, and how would you guide them along that path?
Well, what I would do is I would put a program together where if you purchase 5 lessons, you get 1 free. And we're going to do that, and this way you'll get the cost of the last lesson. It'll save you some money, but I need to have you dedicated to make the changes I want. Plus, I'm going to put a team. So let's say the person's in their 20s, 30s, and they really want to become a good player. I will say, okay, here's going to be the team. The team's going to be you. It's going to be me. And when Dr. Neal comes up, he's going to see you at least twice. So from here on in, you're going to have a team of 3 people, yourself, myself, and Dr. Rob Neal. I like to put a biomechanic in with the team. If they don't want to do that, then I say, all right, what I need to do is I want to see you at least once every 2 weeks for, 5, 6 weeks. Then we'll go maybe once a month. But I said, you have to show me some dedication. And when you come back to me, the changes have to be made. You cannot go back to what you did. You can't do that. And I said, the other thing is, every other lesson, I'm going to watch you play 5, 6 holes. I got to teach you how to manage the game. I've got to teach you how to hit chipping. I've got to teach you distance control from 20, 30, 40, 50 yards in. If you have a 40-yard shot, you can't hit it 55 yards. If you got a 75-yard shot, you can't hit it 45 yards. So my distance control that I teach, I think, is second to none. And I demand my students to hit 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and the ball has to be, you have to learn to hit it between 18 to 22, 28 to 32, 38 to 42. That's our goal. And if you can teach them distance control and, teach them how to spin the ball, keep that launch under 30 degrees, it's a long road. I mean, I tell them that, we got to do everything. I got to improve your putting. I got to improve your chipping. I got to take on a golf course, teach how to think on a golf course, how to hit knockdown shots, how to hit a high ball over the tree, how to hit a shot left or right if you're under a tree. I mean, those are things, if they want to become good, that's what they have to learn to do. So you got to do the whole thing.
That's awesome, because that's exactly right. It's not just taking some 1-hour golf lessons where somebody films it and your golf swing looks pretty. Becoming a better player is addressing every part of the game and improving every part of it. And I love what you said about involving Dr. Neal. I use biomechanics as well. And Ted, I'm such a huge fan of how the way you teach and you involve biomechanics, but you still stay true to the stuff that you believe and that you've learned. Man, I think it's awesome. And I can't thank you enough for the time. You've always been generous spending time with me and sharing information and for taking time this morning to come on here on the Tour Coach. But I appreciate it, and I'm a big fan of yours.
Tony, I really appreciate talking to you as always. I look forward to it. It was great seeing you in Pinehurst, and like I say, you do a great job out there. I like your videos that I get a chance to watch when you send me the emails, and I continue to try to learn. Just always try to get better.
Ted, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I'll look forward to seeing you the next time we're together at one of these conferences.
Thank you, Tony. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Tour Coach. I want to take a minute and thank Cordy Walker and Golf Science Lab, as well as my sponsors Shrixon, Buick, Bushnell, and Vineyard Vines for helping make all of this possible and helping me share my insights with you. If you like what you've heard, why don't you check out more on the Dew Sweepers channel on YouTube, as well as the Dew Sweeper on Instagram, or go to dewsweepersgolf.com to find out more about my teaching, my travels, and where you can find out more about me.